A geopolitical earthquake has erupted in Venezuela, shaking not only the foundations of South America, but sending shockwaves far beyond its borders. Its tremors are being felt across the globe, including the Indo-Pacific, where governments and citizens alike are watching events unfold with growing concern and uncertainty. On January 3, 2026, after months of mounting military buildup and escalating tensions, US Special Forces launched a daring operation and captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in a dramatic nighttime raid that stunned the world. Operation Southern Spear marked the culmination of America's largest Caribbean deployment in decades, involving thousands of troops, advanced warships, and a show of force not seen since the Cold War, signaling a decisive and bold shift in US foreign policy. The world is now divided, nations are taking sides, and the diplomatic landscape has become more fractured than ever. Russia and China have swiftly condemned the intervention, denouncing it as a blatant violation of international law and a dangerous precedent for future conflicts. Meanwhile, some US allies have praised the operation, hailing it as a courageous step toward restoring democracy and stability in Venezuela and reaffirming their support for American leadership. The United Nations, however, has issued a stern warning, cautioning that such unilateral actions threaten to undermine the very foundations of the international order and could spark wider instability. For the Philippines and the broader Indo-Pacific region, this crisis is a stark reminder of how quickly global power dynamics can shift, how distant events can suddenly become local concerns, and how alliances and security arrangements can be tested overnight. As US forces pivot their attention and resources elsewhere, questions arise about the future of regional security in the Indo-Pacific, and whether new vulnerabilities or opportunities will emerge in the wake of America's bold move. The storm in Venezuela may be distant, but its shadow stretches all the way to Manila, reminding us that in today's interconnected world, no nation is truly isolated from the tides of global change. The US operation in Venezuela marks the explosive climax of years of escalating tension and distrust between Washington and Caracas. For over a decade, the two nations have been locked in a bitter standoff, with each side accusing the other of undermining democracy and stability in the region. The streets of Caracas have become a symbol of this ongoing struggle, as both governments vie for influence and legitimacy. Maduro's regime, long accused of corruption, election fraud, and widespread human rights abuses, was formally indicted by the US for narco-terrorism in 2020. Since then, relations have only deteriorated further, with mounting sanctions and diplomatic isolation pushing Venezuela deeper into crisis. The government's grip on power has been challenged by waves of protests and international condemnation. The 2024 disputed election, marred by allegations of vote rigging and violence, finally pushed Washington to act. In response, the US launched a meticulously planned military strike, deploying advanced stealth drones, over 150 aircraft, and elite special forces units. The operation unfolded with precision, aiming to neutralize key regime figures and secure strategic sites across the capital. The USS Gerald R. Ford, the most advanced aircraft carrier in the US fleet, served as the command hub for the intervention, underscoring American resolve and technological superiority in the region. In a dramatic overnight raid, Maduro and his wife were swiftly captured by US Special Forces and flown to New York. The sudden removal of the regime's leadership left Caracas in chaos, with government loyalists scrambling and the city's future uncertain. Interim President Delcy Rodriguez quickly denounced the intervention as a violation of Venezuela's sovereignty. Yet, with US forces now patrolling the streets and controlling key government buildings, any organized resistance appears futile and the population is left in a state of shock and fear. President Trump's immediate announcement that US oil companies would invest heavily in Venezuela's vast reserves has only fueled accusations of resource seizure and imperialism. Many Venezuelans and international observers see this as a blatant move to control the country's wealth. The operation sets a dangerous precedent, challenging the foundations of international law and raising fears that similar interventions could soon threaten other nations across Latin America and beyond. For the Philippines, the Venezuela crisis is a test of its long-standing alliance with the United States. The Mutual Defense Treaty has anchored Philippine security for over 70 years, but it doesn't guarantee automatic support in conflicts outside the Pacific. Manila now faces a dilemma: support the US and risk alienating others, or assert neutrality and risk straining its most important security relationship. Navigating this tightrope will define the future of the US-Philippine partnership and Manila's standing in the world. The Philippines' independent foreign policy aspires to achieve true strategic autonomy, allowing the nation to make decisions based on its own interests rather than being swayed by the agendas of more powerful countries. This means carefully balancing long-standing security and economic ties with the United States, while also managing complex relationships with China and Russia, both of whom are increasingly influential in the region. The recent US intervention in Venezuela has forced Manila into a difficult diplomatic position. Openly condemning the action could jeopardize the crucial US alliance, while supporting it would undermine the Philippines' claims of independence and non-interference. A neutral stance, meanwhile, may satisfy no one and risks alienating all sides, especially as domestic opinion is deeply divided between those with strong pro-US sentiment and those who are wary of foreign influence, emphasizing nationalist ideals. This crisis starkly exposes the limits of independence when alliances are tested by unpredictable global events and shifting power dynamics. For the Philippines, achieving genuine autonomy requires more than just strong rhetoric. It demands real investment in national defense, skilled diplomacy, and building economic resilience to withstand external pressures. The Venezuela crisis serves as a wake-up call for the nation. True independence must be backed by real national capacity and unity. The pressure to choose sides is not only real, it's intensifying as the world grows more divided. The Venezuelan conflict's economic shockwaves are already reaching the Philippines. Disrupted Venezuelan oil exports and US-led sanctions are driving up global fuel prices, threatening inflation and squeezing Filipino families. The crisis could slow economic growth and complicate recovery from previous shocks. Strategically, the US military's focus on Latin America diverts resources from the Indo-Pacific, raising concerns about a power vacuum in the South China Sea. A distracted America could embolden China, increasing risks for the Philippines in disputed waters. The burden of maritime security may fall more heavily on Manila if US support wanes. The distant crisis is now a kitchen table issue and a national security challenge. The US pivot to Venezuela threatens to thin American forces in the Indo-Pacific, altering the balance in the South China Sea. The Philippines has relied on US naval presence and joint exercises to deter aggression and uphold a rules-based order. With US assets tied up in Latin America, rivals may see an opportunity to escalate gray zone tactics or test Philippine resolve. Reduced US engagement could hamper the AFP's modernization and intelligence sharing efforts. The crisis highlights the risk of overdependence on a single ally and the urgent need for Philippine self-reliance in defense. Manila must prepare to defend its interests regardless of shifting US priorities. The humanitarian fallout from Venezuela's collapse is global. Millions of refugees are overwhelming Latin America, and the crisis diverts international aid and attention from other regions, including Southeast Asia. The Philippines, vulnerable to disasters and internal displacement, relies on global humanitarian networks now stretched thin. Donor fatigue and resource diversion could impact the country's own crisis response. Venezuela's tragedy is a cautionary tale. Instability anywhere can have far-reaching human costs. For Manila, promoting stability and humanitarian principles abroad is both a moral duty and a strategic necessity. The Philippine Army faces a dual challenge, maintaining internal security while preparing for external threats. Years of focus on counterinsurgency have left gaps in conventional defense capabilities. The South China Sea crisis and shifting US attention demand a rapid evolution in doctrine, training, and equipment. Modernization is slow and dependent on foreign partners. Any disruption in US support could leave the Army vulnerable. The Venezuela crisis underscores the urgency of building a force ready for both internal and external challenges. The AFP must adapt quickly or risk being caught unprepared in a changing security landscape. The Philippines must be proactive in a turbulent world. First, accelerate military modernization for credible self-defense. Relying solely on US guarantees is risky. Second, strengthen regional partnerships, especially within ASEAN, to build a united front against external pressures. Deepen ties with other middle powers like Japan, Australia, and India for greater flexibility. Diplomacy should be the first line of defense advocate for a rules-based order and peaceful dispute resolution. Agility and balance are key. Diversify alliances, invest in national strength, and stay alert to global shifts. The Venezuela crisis is a reminder. The world is unpredictable and self-reliance is essential. By championing peace and resilience, the Philippines can chart its own secure course in the 21st century.